Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kaiserreich. We're playing as the Russian Socialist Republic for now. And we're gonna see where things go. We're rehabilitating the Red Army, and then we're gonna progress to try to figure out what exactly our politics even are. Not enough manpower equipment. Anyways. Hopefully that, yeah. So, it's 93.7. We were going to need to really improve our weapon construction situation. Probably want to prioritize moving in that direction, more or less. Oh, we're keeping just enough. Like, as a general rule, I'm keeping like one factory on close air support and medium airframe. I really don't need either of those, honestly. I think that's realistic. I also don't know if we need basic light tanks. Yeah, we don't. We should just keep going on the improved light tanks. I feel like this is probably a little bit better. Yeah. I'm not sure about that, but we'll have to do. I would love to surround and destroy these German infantry divisions. I think it's probably not successful. Whatever attack is going on here, we need to stop doing it. We need to knock it off. Okay. Can I do this? And then do that? Mongolia. Yeah, so the war in the west is exploding. And expanding. Okay. Probably want to reverse. You should probably stop attacking. You also probably don't need to attack. The goal here, yeah, we're hoping that this can pocket Hangzhou. How are things going over here? Holy guacamole, we succeeded. Well, that's really good. Right now, alright, rehabilitated the Red Army. That's nice. Yeah, we need to correct the course. Grand Western Line, Roads of Courage, Detroit on Volga. Alright. We are going to correct the course of history. This time. With their power returned, proletarian dictatorship restored, the delegates from the Soviets, joined by representatives of the trade unions, are gathering in Petrograd to discuss the future of the revolution in all Russia. With various factions vying for power and influence, the debate will be fierce and long. Okay. Convocation of the Congress. The institutions of the decrepit Russian Republic lie in ruins. Much of the country is now run by improvised revolutionary councils of Soviets and trade unions, as well as village collectives. There is little reason to keep any part of Savinkov's dictatorial reforms, and Nabokov's parliamentarianism, too, is unfitting for a workers' Russia. Thus, the Constitution must be drafted, and by decree of Personal President Maria Spiridonova, free elections will be held. However, precautions have been made to stop any backsliding into reaction. Any members of the ZRS, SOR, organizations aligned with these are not allowed to vote until they've either served their sentences or proven innocent by people's courts. This also applies to those who claim to have joined the Svobodnik organizations under coercion or out of opportunism, which instantly sweeps away major parts of the Russian political right and center. Additionally, voting shall be organized by workers' councils, essentially primarily limiting suffrage to workers and peasants. Predictably, over two-thirds of the seats in Congress went to socialist parties, with the Socialist Revolutionaries receiving around half the total votes. The other major bloc is the All-Russian Union of Labor. A number of other smaller parties, the Radical Democrats and Cadets, receive some seats, but they're only ghosts of their former selves. The people have spoken. Let us begin. Boy, oh boy, let us begin. I think trying to isolate the enemy in Hangzhou is in our best interest. Oh, boy. Oh. Let's get an operative first. Probably this person who can be used for all these different nationalities. Military industrial organizations. Resource need is nice. Production efficiency, production output cost, sure. I don't know if that means anything. Oh boy. The fighting began immediately. The former Senate Palace, which was absolutely packed with people, was basically controlled chaos, directed only by Comrade Boris Kamikov, who had the difficult task of keeping order in the hall. Many articles of the future constitution were easy to agree on. The construction of socialism, the declaration of the Russian Socialist Federative Republic, absolute freedom of religion and language, rule by locally elected workers and peasant soviets. But when it came to the details, the Congress descended into endless debate. All power to the Soviets was the rallying cry of the leftmost faction with the communists. Many SRs, especially the maximalists, agreed, but refusing to support the Bolshevik proposal. Oh, sorry, that wasn't one sentence. The moderates debated details. What would all power even mean? In practice, some kind of national Congress would exist, and it would be integral to define the nature of this Congress, or a new dictatorship would be created out of the vagueness of the text. This was criticized as crypto-parliamentarism, or worse, liberalism. Would there be a chamber for labor unions, like in France? Would there be a chamber for regional representation? Some even proposed a tricameral structure. How would the government interact with the Congress and the Soviets? Could it be voted out? After multiple pauses, there were 3 competing drafts. It was almost nighttime, but the mood was ecstatic, and the delegates wished to put it to a vote. The Soviet proposal is light on institutions and grants the Congress, one moment. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Elected by the Soviets, almost limitless powers to create and abolish institutions as they need to. So, foundation of a dictatorship, almost certainly. Hey, the federal proposal introduces much more checks and balances, including a guaranteed regional and labor union representation. A third mixed option was proposed, which tried to reconcile constitutional safeguards and unrestricted Soviet democracies. All power to the Soviets. We have, hey. Okay. Uh-oh. There's a lot of text here. We have the VST. Okay, so this is the Social Democrat, Syndicalist, and Radical Socialist. This is the Syndicalist and Radical Socialist. This is the Syndicalist and the Totalist. I feel like a compromise position is probably wise. Okay, 1 deputy per 50,000 voters from a city Soviet, or 1 deputy per 100,000 voters from a provincial Soviet. I don't love that. Honestly, Okay. Soviets and labor unions, elected through Soviets on the basis of universal suffrage. Congress is elected directly on the basis of universal suffrage. Elected by the Soviets on the basis of universal suffrage versus elected directly on the basis of universal suffrage. The legislative body of the Congress is elected by the Soviets on the basis of universal suffrage. The Congress is advised by an elected chamber of labor unions. So we have a bicameral system here, where we have a chamber of labor unions and then elected by the Soviets. So Soviets and labor unions. Congress is elected by deputies. Okay. City versus provincial, and there's just 100,000. Okay. So the PSR, the SRs, the VST, former Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. Aye. So right now, Maria is, so PSR is, so this is the SR proposal, and it's the PSR. I don't know what the P stands for, but it's Partita, it's the Party of Socialist Revolution, so the PSR is just the SRs. These are the SRs. Okay. So, if we want to support the SRs, we go this direction. If we want to support the Bolsheviks, we go this direction. If we want to compromise, we go this direction. Is a compromise a good idea? Is this What are we trying to do here? What are we even doing? Okay. This is, I assume, if the SRs go Spirit of Novna mode or not. I think we are probably going to want socialism through democracy. This is the... Is this the checks and balances one? Yeah, the federal one. Okay, so there's one Congress versus two Congresses. The center and the right faction of the VSD. Okay, we're gonna do the PSR proposal. Socialism through democracy. That's bad for the Bolsheviks, good for the SRs. If we're playing Billy Compromise, then we probably gonna want to choose a center proposal. Later? I don't know. Hey. Oh. Okay. A balance of power soon after. The Congress started debate as the exact nature of power in a new republic. The prevailing opinion is that no one wished for a repeat of 1918, where the Bolsheviks had simply ignored the results of Soviet elections and centralized all power to the Council of People's Commissars. It was also generally agreed upon that no single person should wield great power. The head of state would be collective, handled by the Premier of Congress as a largely representative role, as before. But the matter of government is much more divisive. The anti-centralist proposals hope for a weak executive power that's fully responsible to Congress. While this would make centralization of power difficult, it might lead to a system that simply cannot decide on anything. On the other hand, the government must be able to act in times when no Congress can hold sessions, and many fear that without a powerful central executive, the counter-revolutionaries will be able to mount a stronger resistance. So a strong but divided Congress will never guarantee a safe revolution. Strong executive power may give birth to another Sevenkov. So, do we want to have ministers with power or not? I think we probably want ministers with power. I think it's probably a bad idea to have an executive that is too weak. Elected by the Congress. Yeah. Okay. Subject to vote of confidence. I'm trying to read this closely. Must be raised public order in the case the Congress is unable to convene. That's risky. I feel like we just came off of a dictatorship. We probably don't want a strong executive. As risky as that sounds. Yeah, I guess. No, I think we need to have at least an executive that has some beef. Otherwise, we're kind of hosed. Okay, okay. The Belgians have gone red. That's good. That's good. Oh, the left game T. Oh, this is not going anywhere. We need to pull back to Jinhua. We're going to withdraw. Fourth Balkan War. What is it with Balkans and war all the time? Are any of these guys syndicalists? If not, we don't care. Any reds? Any reds in the audience? I don't know. It may be in our best interest to, you know. We did give them the Russian military mission bonus, at least. Is it in our best interest to send volunteers? I think it probably is in our best interest to send volunteers. As much as these guys are not red. Can we even afford that? Alright, let's consider this. We'll send over some infantry, I guess. Oh, we can send two. Can I send two to Serbia? Yes. And I can only send one to Greece? Okay, assuming these guys even accept my volunteers. Romania, Greece. Did I not send to Serbia? I didn't. Whoops. Anyways. Let's do that right this time. Wonderful. Okay. Anyways, things are going badly. We're getting blasted back in China. That's not good. Collins holds on. A bourgeois revolutionary, albeit a very accomplished one. Bourgeois, bourgeois, don't look 'em in the eye. Bourgeois, bourgeois, you're here until you die. Okay, dockyards have finally gotten freed up. We're gonna maybe focus on repairing. Submarines, you four. We're gonna go there. You're gonna go here. And then we'll make boat. I don't know. Cruiser? I guess. Cruiser in Petrograd, I suppose. We'll just keep doing that. Anyways. How are we doing over here? Hey, we did it. We killed the Germans. Take that, you bounders. Are we going to try to flank and annihilate Granada? I think probably. Do we want to replace Malinovsky? I think Malinovsky's probably fine. Vasilevsky. Yeah, here also fine. How are the Mingan insurgents going? Badly, I think. Collapsing morale. Nanjing click. Rampant disorder. Disunity in the coalition. Questionable authority. Is Nanjing going to win? That would be annoying. But, you know, not the end of the world. Annoying, though. I wonder if we might be, our goose might be cooked. In terms of buttons, I'm going to want to probably get rid of German influence as soon as ASAP. This would give me civilian factories. Honestly, probably good to get civilian factories. This, okay. Future of the Russian Army. The Russian Army, as it exists, is largely a creation of the white generals, and its values and training focus greatly on the bourgeois propaganda such as individual heroism and nationalism. It's partly the aristocratic behemoth that it was in 1917, but still, many socialists would prefer to see the army thoroughly transformed and have it shed its pseudo-aristocratic skin and restore the best parts of the workers' and peasants' Red Army. Firstly, there are those who broadly agree on the direction of the Russian army, and those who wish to maintain the development. Mikhail Tukhachevsky argues that the mobility-oriented doctrine, focused on armor development by Slashyov and Markov, was the right choice and should be continued. He is echoed by Boris Shashnikov, a theorist and disciplinarian who argues in favor of maintaining as professional army as possible. Naturally, many Republican generals agree with the sentiment, seeking to keep the military depoliticized. Their opposition is drawn around Mikhail Frunze, Vasily Blucher, and Mikhail Levandrovsky. Frunze has been organizer of the International Brigades and asserts that a revolutionary army should be a Marxist army. All the proletariat should be armed and trained. All an elite of ideologically devoted volunteers would act as the sword of the revolution. This, they argue, has been proved in the successful guerrilla campaigns of Blucher and Levanovsky and numerous successful revolutions abroad. Favor the apolitical army model. Workers' and peasants' army arises again. I cannot help but wonder whether this will be... Let's see. I'm thinking about this. Probably... I don't know, Workers' and Peasants' Army is a little risky-brisky, but, you know, we are launching a revolution, so, like, the Workers' and Peasants' Army rises again is probably what I'm going to go with. Let's see how that works out. I don't know if that's a decision. The Manchurian Curse! Oh, boy. Okay. 10 years ago, in 1928, what began as an incident on the Chinese Eastern Railway became a full-scale military expedition under General Konstantin Sakharov. Sakharov, advancing boldly and far too quickly against poorly armed Chinese forces, eventually came to a halt before Mudanjiang. In the snow of the Manchurian winter, Sakharov suffered a crippling defeat against the combined forces of Zhang Zhaolin's forces and the Japanese Chosen Army, while the main Russian forces were only being transported to the east. The war turned into a humiliating, destabilizing defeat for the young Russian Republic. The defeat reminded many of the catastrophe of 1905 and was followed by similar political turmoil, culminating in Vasily Bolshevikov's coup attempt at the Christmas purges enacted by General Kornilov, and a great loss of face to the SR President Nikolai Androskev. No, that's not it. Nikolai Avkhenstev. Many point to it as the beginning of the escalating political instability, which was only halted by the election of Boris Savinkov in 1934. The Far Eastern frontier has been quiet, but in a state of constant underfunding. While Japan is regarded as a rival, the budget never seems to prioritize the far-flung regions of the nation. Even though the shortfalls of the Far Eastern Military District were already seen in 1928, yes, it's hardly a priority. At least start the renovation of the famed Vladivostok fortress. So that will give me more Army XP, and give me more forts in Vladivostok. And strengthen the Far Eastern Military District against an uprising. Alright. We are getting involved in more and more and more and more and more and more wars. How exciting. But that will have to wait until the next episode. Goodbye.